Ray Thorpe. Thank you very much for your time. How are you today?
I'm feeling great. I'm not that cold considering I'm in Melbourne.
Freezing in the winter time.
Yes.
Ray, we just listened to a very nice presentation about herbal cures. We're not allowed to say that. You've been in this industry for some time and exploring it. Please give us a little background on your life.
Yes, well, I always knew that herbs had some powers, but I was just deceived by everybody else that never really experienced the herbs. And it was only when I tried later in life, and I tried a few of them, and they worked astoundingly so. And I thought, why don't I know about this? And I consider myself an average person, and I think I never knew Damiana was good for depression, or catnip good for period pain, or for all the other uses, and mugwort good for cramps. Why don't we know about this? Why are we sort of all forced in a way to take medications, and go to doctors and then the pharmacists, and all the money, and usually these things don't work or are addictive. For instance, I worked in a chemist shop, and I had a chemist friend who actually left the industry because he said he was just tired of selling addictive substances that don't really work. And I thought, what an honest man he was, And it still perplexes me that people are working in these industries, and that even doctors themselves, they are, doing good for society, but why do they even just refuse to accept that herbs do work? Is it because they're too busy? It can't be because they're not intelligent. Or is it all a matter about money, or not even really caring for people's health? I think of the pharmaceutical companies, I'm sure they don't really care for us. I think they just care about shareholder profits. Because if they did care for us, they wouldn't be lobbying against herbs within the ranks of the Therapeutic Goods Administration and government organisations. If they really cared, they'd be perhaps exploiting herbs themselves. And in some cases they do, but they turn them into pills, and pills don't really work. Herbs work the way they're meant, either to be chewed upon or ingested as teas or even extracts, but certainly not in pill form.
You mentioned a plant, ephedra, very, very naughty plant to mention.
Yes.
I was first told about that when I was 18. I had a herbalist, and her name Beverly Lane, I think. And she presented American ephedra to get stuff off your lungs and all these other things.
Yes.
And then it's closely associated with ephedrine. We have a problem.
Yes. Well, there was a big schmozzle on that. I was actually raided for ephedra, and the police, there were 24 involved in it. Video cameras, a real proper drug raid on our home and on our shops, all looking for a herb that they didn't even know what it looked like. They had to ask my partner to identify it. They didn't even know what they were looking for. And I've since learned, because I was charged and even temporarily thrown in jail, and did face a jail sentence for a herb. So I became really intrigued, and not only that, the Americans, especially in the herbal industry, were intrigued too, and they got a researcher to check on the ephedra and its claim that it killed people in the States, and they found that to be false. There has never been anybody who's died from ephedra. I'm not saying that's not the case with ephedrine tablets. I'm talking about natural ephedra, and that's what we're really talking about today.
Yes.
We're not talking about
something that's not fortified.
Yeah, exactly. And then I did even some more research, and they say that there would be nobody who makes illicit drugs who would use natural ephedra in the process of making the speed ephedrine or methyl.
They're too busy using Sudafed.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why they do, because it's already potentized for them. The costs involved, and I just don't think ephedra would work for them. So banning ephedra because you can make ephedrine out of it is a false premise, really. And even if that be the case, let the laws work against that. They should allow ephedra to be made available by qualified herbalists and doctors, because it is so effective for asthma, number one. We've had even people who used ephedra whose asthma has disappeared out of their lives, and most people don't have to use puffers again. It's a whole industry built around asthma and sinus, and ephedra is really, really effective. And I believe that's a real reason why it's banned. But to be arrested and threatened with jail, etc., for having a natural herb is another crime against nature, really.
Yes. Look, recently I've had some tooth problems, and every time I see a dentist, I tell them about colloidal silver. And not any single one of them has ever taken up any advice. It's all right to use ibuprofen and Nurofen Plus, but they're going to have a serious side effect.
Yeah.
It's interesting to note, you mentioned that the side effects are often, for instance, I had a skin rash. I was in Wollongbar and I went to see the doctor. They pulled in another doctor. Oh, we suggest you have this.
Yeah.
There was a little keyhole, a naturopath in a little keyhole place.
Yeah, I know.
And before I bought anything, I went there and she
Yep.
said, oh, look, through the iris diagnosis,
Yes.
you've got a skin problem, it's a liver problem.
Yes.
Now, when I asked the doctor, if I take your formula, what's the side effect? He said it'll give you liver damage.
Yes, that's right.
Well, the naturopath said, well, that's where your skin rash is coming from.
Yes.
Fix your liver problem and your skin rash will go.
Yes, that's what it's all about. They're all for fixing those symptoms without looking at the real cause. And I thought you'd say as much, because I even had a girl with a skin rash and nothing would help. And at the last, she'd been to doctors and specialists, and we used colloidal silver, and in front of our eyes, the rashes went away, just dissolving away as soon as we applied it. And yet they're banning colloidal silver. I don't know if you know that.
No.
Yeah, that's they've banned the machines that make it. Yeah, and they're trying to ban it. In fact, there were some raids on health food stores in Sydney a year or two ago for colloidal silver, and they were facing like $20,000 fines and stuff for making claims about colloidal silver, which are honest claims. But
well, now they're using silver in band-aids and in perspirants.
yeah, I noticed that after all that, and I thought, there it is again.
But the
banning
corporations are involved.
that. Yes.
They're going to protect themselves legally.
Yeah.
Get away with using the alternative therapies.
That's a really good point. I've noticed that after. That's only happened in the last year, and I thought, wow, there's a rule for somebody and a rule for them.
Yeah, logo law.
Yeah, logo law. Money-driven law.